one addict of Facebook confided in me, not confided, he actually boasted to me that he made 500 friends in one day. My reply was that I live 86 years, but I don't have 500 friends. I didn't manage to do it. So presumably, when he says friend and I say friend, we don't mean the same thing. It's a different kind of friend. I never heard when I was young the concept of network. I heard about human bonds, I heard about communities, this sort of thing, but not network.
I'm fat. Wow, I'm fat. She's only 19 years old? What am I doing with my life? Hey, 2 likes, nice. Do I like this photo? Does she really need more likes? Hey, I hope I'm gonna be invited to the wedding. What, 1 more like, nice. Welcome to the internal monologue of a typical social media scroll. A monologue that so many of us have every day, but we don't think about, we don't talk about it. In fact, many of us can't even recognize it happening. I'm Bailey Parnell, and I'm going to talk to you about the unintended consequences social media is having on your mental health. I'm going to show you what's stressing you out every day, what it's doing to you, and how you can craft a better experience for yourself online.
What is the difference between community and network? Community precedes you. You are born into a community. What is network? Unlike community, network is made and maintained, kept alive by 2 different activities. One is connecting and the other is disconnecting. And I think that the attractiveness of the new type of friendship, Facebook type of friendship, I call it, is precisely in that. That it is so easy to disconnect. It is easy to connect, to make friends, but the greatest attraction is the facility of disconnecting. Just imagine if you have not online friendship, not online connection, not online sharing, but offline connection, real connection, face to face, body to body, eye to eye. Then breaking relationship is always a very traumatic event. You have to find excuses, you have to explain, you have to lie very often, and even then you don't feel safe because the partner would say, well, you have no right, you are swine, you are pig, you are whatever, overman, and so on. It's difficult, but on the internet it's so easy, you just press delete and that's it. Instead of 500 friends, you have 499, but it is only a temporary irritant because tomorrow you will have another 500.
Now, just over a year ago, my sister and I took a 4-day vacation to Jasper, Alberta. This was the first no-work vacation I had taken in 4 years. On this vacation, I was going dark. I was turning on airplane mode, no email, and no social media. Now, the first day I was there, I was still experiencing phantom vibration syndrome. That's where you think your phone went off and you check, and it didn't. I was checking incessantly. I was distracted in conversation. I was seeing these gorgeous sights Jasper had to offer, and my first reaction was to take out my phone and post it on social. But of course it wasn't there. Now, the second day was a little bit easier. And you might be thinking I'm ridiculous, but I hadn't been completely disconnected in over 4 years. This was practically a new experience again. It wasn't until the 4th day I was there that I was finally comfortable without my phone. I was sitting with my sister, literally on the side of this mountain, when I started thinking to myself, what is social media doing to me? What is it doing to my peers? That was only 4 days, and it was anxiety-inducing, it was stressful, and it resulted in withdrawals. That's when I started to ask questions and have since started my master's research into this subject.
Joining us right now is Amy Chua. She is the author of the new book, Political Tribes. Book is out this week. And Amy, thank you for being here. It's great to see you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Explain what tribalism is. What are you talking about?
Well, the term is used lots of different ways. You can mean like a literal tribe, like the Afghan Pashtun tribes. People often use it to mean an ethnic affiliation, like the Japanese tribe or the Jewish tribe. Or it can just be a modern identity-driven tribe. And all I mean, Becky, is a special kind of group allegiance where your identity becomes so bound up with the group that it's really intense. So you really feel like these are my people, you know, and kind of like your reaction to the Olympics, right? It's like, we want this team to win. We don't care what anybody says.
I am totally tribal when it comes to
sports is tribal.
Admittedly, but you think we've come to a new era in the United States where everybody is feeling tribal, whether you are a minority or in a majority or any of these things. You think everybody's feeling pressure right now.
Right. So tribalism, it's hardwired in us, and we just can't ignore it. If we don't fight it, we are all tribal. The problem is when tribalism takes over the political system. That's much less healthy, and that's what we're seeing right now, because what happens is so many different groups feel threatened. Not just minorities, but whites feel threatened, not just Muslims and Jews and Buddhists, but Christians feel threatened. So when people feel threatened, that's when they retreat into tribalism and they get very insular and more defensive. And the problem, Becky, is with tribalism, you see everything through your tribal lens. And you kind of ignore facts. You want to stick to your team and be loyal to it. And that's preventing us from having some really important national conversations.
First of all, what happened? How did we get to this point? Is it a reflection of the 2008 financial crisis?
That's only a part of it. Honestly, I think we all tend to want to point fingers. I think both sides of the political spectrum are to blame. I don't think there's anybody who's blameless here. And on the left, I think there has been too much focusing on sort of identity mongering, victim worshiping, and people didn't expect, they knew that might take over college campuses, but they didn't expect that to contribute to the rise of Donald Trump. And on the right, you know, a lot of rage mongering, a lot of conspiracy theory peddling. You know, they expected that maybe that's going to stay on conservative, you know, talk media. Didn't expect that to contribute to the rise of Donald Trump, too. So the book is really explaining this anti-establishment movement.
I think both sides a little conspiracy theory mongering. I mean, unless we do find some collusion. But you know, you should pull up the Bill Murray interview that we did out in
Pebble Beach. Yeah. Very
started
similar.
out by saying the country wakes up in the morning, it's a clash of clans. Yeah. And went on to talk about identity politics, how one of the faults of the left is that they pick out groups to say that we represent you and almost exploit that group just to say we represent, but we don't represent everyone. But they said almost the identical things that.
Yes, and progressives.
Did you see that interview?
I did, but now I'm going to look for
it.
I mean, the progressives are making some really important points. There's a lot of problems, but I feel like the discussion, because of our tribalism, we can't really talk about the problems. It's almost like a game of gotcha. Oh, you said the wrong thing. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of immigration in the sense that I'm the daughter of immigrants. I think that it's been a source of our vitality in this country. But I think it's ridiculous if somebody in America can't just express their anxiety and say, you know, I'm worried about immigration. Can we talk about how we do this, how we have limits? You know, at this point, it's like if you just say that, oh my God, xenophobic, racist, you know, and that's just not where we want to be. We really want to be talking.
How do we fix the problem?
Well, I don't think that we should romanticize this, but I think because my work is really looking at tribalism and how it's broken down countries outside the United States, I think both sides have been playing with fire and not realizing it.
That undermines human bonds. human bonds are a mixture of blessing and a curse. Blessing, because it is really tremendously pleasurable and tremendously satisfying to have another partner on whom you can rely and do something for him or for her. It's it's some kind of experience which is unavailable to the Facebook friendship. So it's a blessing. And I think that very many young people are not even aware what they lost because they never experienced this sort of situation. On the other hand, it is a curse, because once you enter the bond, you expect to stay there forever. You swear, you take an oath, till death do us part, right? Forever. But what does it mean? It does mean that you mortgage your future. Perhaps tomorrow or next month or next year, there will be new opportunities, now unheard of. You can't predict them, and you won't be able to pick them, these new opportunities, because you will be already tied by your old commitments, old obligations. So it's a very ambivalent situation, and hence the curious phenomenon of this solitary person in a crowd of solitaries, right? We are all in solitude and in a crowd at the same time.
Segment 2, the scapegoating mechanism. We're taught, let's say we're in the prehistoric world. You're describing the most basic sources of conflict, and now the most basic means of resolving conflict.
Yeah. Because the question is how such conflicts resolved. They have to be resolved at least part of the time for groups of human beings to gather permanently together and so forth.
So the question is, how do societies manage to exist?
People imitate each other. People imitate each other in their desire. But they also imitate each other in their dislikes, I just said. And therefore, when you have a conflict which is particularly visible and obvious and so forth, there will be a tendency for the neighbors of the people concerned to move with the stronger of the two, the most convincing of the two, and be on his side against the other one. And when you have a second one, you have a third one, a fourth one, it becomes easier and easier. And the mimetic, because all this is always mimetic, you see, that's the thing you have to see. The real motor is imitation each time. Imitation of friendship, imitation of desire, and imitation of conflict. So, if it is so, there should not be any human society. It should be impossible.
Total conflict all the time.
Total conflict all the time. But if you have that total conflict, you also have a way in which this conflict is automatically, cancelled and resolved by. And it is when people imitate no longer the choice of opponent, but also what they feel about everything. And they are all going to gather against the same opponent. If one really feels convinced that one of the people there is more guilty than the other one, the notion of guilt will appear in the collective interplay of these people. And as soon as this happens, it gathers speeds, and ultimately one victim must be killed or driven out or otherwise gotten rid of. And this is what I call this, what not I, but everybody calls the scapegoat. The word scapegoat comes from the Bible, the Tyndale translation of the Bible in English. In most European languages, they say emissary goat, emissary victim, victim who is sent out of the community or who is killed. You see, but that's when everybody agrees that there must be one who is more of a culprit than the others. Therefore, they unite against I say at some point, people must have been reconciled in order to create communities, permanent communities, against not a leader directly, but a scapegoat. That they all killed together, and it united them. That's why, if you look at myth, they all have the same shape. It's always a story of a man who is killed by an entire community.
Oedipus, mythical king of Thebes. The plague comes to Thebes. Yeah. Oedipus discovers that years before, unwittingly, he had killed his father and mother. He's horrified. He blinds himself.
It's a community that discovers that.
All right, that's what I want. So we know the Oedipus myth. Explain how that...
And Oedipus is killed. Therefore, the community gathers around Oedipus, because Oedipus has solved the problem in a way of the disunity of the community by dying. After the death of Oedipus, people find that they have no more enemy, and they have a moment where they say, this man divided us, but in order to reconcile us. Therefore, he's a god. Therefore, he is the one who is moving us towards some kind of new form of unity. Not against him, but we should be afraid of him, but he's fundamentally good. He's a god.
So the good news is that studies show that if you can just pull people out of their tribes and have them interact as human beings, unbelievable progress can be made. So if you take people who hate each other or politically, but you say, get together and talk about dogs, your pets, or pizza, or your children, people find common ground. So I think that's the next step. We have to realize that, we can't see people that we disagree with on the other side of the political spectrum as enemies. I mean, they're just people we disagree with, not un-Americans or immoral people. At that point, we're just going to fracture into two.
Try to do that with
essential values which are absolutely indispensable for a satisfying, rewarding, relatively happy life. One is security, the other is freedom. You can't be happy, you can't have a decent, dignified human life in the absence of one of them, right? Security without freedom is slavery. Freedom without security is complete chaos, inability to do anything, plan anything, even dream about anything. So you need both. The trouble, however, is that no one yet in history and on the planet found the golden formula, the perfect mixture of security and freedom. Each time you get more security, you surrender a bit of your freedom. There's no other way. Each time you get a bit more freedom, you surrender part of your security. So you gain something and you lose something.
Apologia da união entre as pessoas. A única solução verdadeiramente eficaz para os problemas sociais e para a humanidade como um todo. A união é a única solução realmente viável e eficaz para os problemas da humanidade e aqui não há dogmatismo. Procurar desmentir que a afirmação de que a união é a única solução realmente viável e eficaz para os problemas da humanidade é descobri-la verdadeira O surgimento de uma civilização mais justa e mais pacífica só acontecerá com a união das pessoas, e isto não é utopia. Dedicar o seu tempo, a sua energia e o seu pensamento a polarizações ideológicas é anular a possibilidade de acontecer união entre as pessoas. Se realmente está querendo dedicar a sua vida à construção de uma sociedade mais justa e mais pacífica, é na união que deve focar o seu tempo, a sua energia e o seu pensamento. Senta que o meu trabalho está agregando valor à sua vida, deseja contribuir para que este continue sendo produzido e distribuído gratuitamente, entre em contato comigo e pergunte-me como.